Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day and a new week, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and a new week comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 4 NBA player props to go ahead and share for you guys in today's NBA playoff slate. And we've got absolutely no time to waste, so let's just dive right into today's picks right off the jump. That's right, guys. We are moving today, jumping right into the outlier screen. Our first player prop in today's slate comes from the Celtics-Knicks Game 4. We have a pair of Game 4s going on tonight. The first one, the Celtics-Knicks game, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We're going Drew Holiday of the Boston Celtics over 16.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. We're grabbing this one minus 140 on FanDuel, a little high in the odds department, but still pretty solid value, and the data is honestly very strong across the board. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over. That's a 70% hit rate, averaging 19.4 PRAs per game over his last 10 games. If we do go ahead and narrow it down to the last 5 games, all 5 of these, of course, being playoff games, he's cashed the over in 4 of the last 5, averaging 19 PRAs per game. He's played 3 games so far in this series versus the Knicks. He's cashed the over in 2 of the 3. The one miss coming in Game 3 where he finished with 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists. However, that game was a blowout. Boston controlled the game for the majority of the game, and a lot of the starters by the fourth quarter were pulled, and Drew Holiday played only 24.8 minutes, still a healthy amount of minutes, but obviously compared to the earlier playoff games, even in this own series, 39 minutes in Game 1 versus the Knicks, 34 minutes in Game 2, 10 fewer minutes in Game 3 versus Game 2, just about. So, that's a big reason why he missed it, and he didn't miss it by too much either. He missed it by 3 PRAs, and again, if he played another 6 minutes, I think he cashes that over. He's not taking a ton of shots in this series, but he is shooting the ball pretty well thus far, and the rebound chances have been pretty high again. Only 5 rebound chances in Game 3 versus 13 in Game 1 and 12 in Game 2. Even the potential assists, still 8, but, there's still some room for more opportunities for Drew Holiday. And the Knicks versus point guards this year, 20th in points allowed, so bottom 10 in the league. They are a little bit better in rebounds and assists, but overall, not too shabby. And even if we look at the overall season numbers for Holiday, the data is solid across the board. A 60% hit rate on the season for Drew Holiday, 40 out of 67 games, including playoffs, he's cashed the over, averaging 19.18 PRAs per game across all 67 games this year. So like I said, pretty good numbers across the board, even in the head-to-head department. Phenomenal numbers. 8 of his last 11 matchups with the New York Knicks, including playoffs, he's cashed the over. That's a 73% hit rate, averaging 20.27 PRAs per game across those last 11 matchups with the New York Knicks. And including playoffs, he's played the Knicks 6 times so far this year. He's cashed the over in 5 of those 6 games. And again, if you narrow it down a little bit further, 8 of his last 10 matchups with the Knicks, he's cashed the over. So really solid numbers here for Holiday. Pretty solid matchup. Again, he's cashed in 2 of 3 in this series so far. Game 3 being the exception. However, again, he only played 24.8 minutes. So he should play more as long as it's not another blowout. I'll be honest. I'll take the blowout on the Celtics' favor. But as long as the game's a little bit closer and stays a little closer later in the game, we should see Drew Holiday play some more minutes and thus most likely cash the over. So for minus 140, I still think it's got pretty solid value as the first player prop in today's slate. And sticking with this same game, guys, the second player prop in today's slate, moving on to Jason Tatum, still of the Boston Celtics, over 5.5 assists. We're grabbing this one for minus 128 on FanDuel. It is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. And the data, again, pretty solid here as well. 5 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 6 assists per game over his last 10 games. We're going to go ahead and expand the data before we narrow it down here. So looking at the overall season view for Jason Tatum, not bad. 53% hit rate on the year, including playoffs, 42 out of 79 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 5.95 assists per game this year. So just shy of 6 assists per game on the year, so pretty good numbers there. Again, we basically just needed his average from the year, and we cashed the over. And the head-to-head data, also pretty strong. 7 of his last 12 matchups with the New York Knicks, including playoffs, he's cashed the over. It's a 58% hit rate, averaging 6.25 assists per game across the last 12 matchups with the New York Knicks. And you do see, even when he's missing, he's barely missing, right? 5 assists. A lot of 5 assist games where he's only missing the line by 1 assist. So let's go ahead and narrow it down to the last 5 games, which of course are all 3 games in this Knicks series and the final 2 games of the Orlando series. And you do see so far 2 of 3 games similar to the Drew Holiday prop, 2 out of 3 so far against New York. He's cashed the over. He cashed it in game 1 and in game 3. Game 2, he unfortunately missed it by 1 with 5 assists. But pretty solid numbers. He's averaging 6.2 assists per game over his last 5 games. And really, it's the opportunities, right? In game 1, 17 potential assists. Game 3, 13 potential assists. We only need him to get 6. So that's a key thing to remember. Only 6, but he's getting way more potential assists in these games. Some of this, so Tatum so far this series, obviously, if you guys have watched, has not really been the most efficient scorer in the series thus far. You know, game 2 in particular was really tough to watch. I do think in game 3, you saw him defer a little bit. Jaylen Brown kind of took over a little bit more. Derek White scored more. You know, he kind of deferred more. And it shows. I mean, he had seven assists in game 3, so a little more of a passive role. Now, granted, he did take 20 shots in game 3 still, but you know, he only had 22 points, not really having the best scoring series. That, I don't know, some of it I feel like is on Tatum. It's a mental thing. It's a personal thing. Some of it is the Knicks just have really good defenders between Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. These really lengthy, very solid, versatile defenders. It makes life harder for Tatum. But the benefit for us here is that when though you have those defenders and they kind of crash down on Tatum, it should open more opportunities in the passing lane. And Tatum is a pretty gifted passer, I would say. So I do like the spot here. The Knicks overall this year, they are a solid defensive team. They don't really give up a ton of assists. But Tatum, again, 2 of 3 games thus far in the series, he's cashed the over. And the one time he missed it by 1 assist in this series. With the way the Knicks are playing on him defensively, there's a lot of opportunities for Jason Tatum to more facilitate than maybe be the go-to scorer that he normally is. Again, he's still taking a ton of shots. He took 20 shots in game 3, but only had 22 points. But I do think there are a lot more opportunities for assists in this series. He's got a pretty good track record on the year and versus the Knicks. So for minus 128 odds, I think it's pretty valuable. All right, guys, 2 player props left. Before we dive into our 3rd prop in today's video, please comment 7 down below as we've just hit the 7-minute mark in today's video. As always, guys, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single video here on the channel. A lot of hard work goes into these, so we appreciate those who do watch through and don't just jump to the comment section for the picks. Listen, no, there's a little bit of judgment. There's going to be a little bit of judgment on you guys, but we appreciate you nonetheless, but especially those who watch through. We appreciate you a little extra. All right, guys, our 3rd player prop in today's slate. We're now moving on to Warriors Timberwolves game 4, 10 p.m. tip-off over there on the West Coast. And we're going Jimmy Butler of the Golden State Warriors over 6.5 assists, minus 128 on FanDuel. Same odds we got the Jason Tatum player prop for. So Jimmy Butler over 6.5 rebounds. Again, minus 128 on FanDuel. Data from a recent standpoint is actually phenomenal. And even from a head-to-head standpoint, pretty solid. Unfortunately, the overall numbers not great for Jimmy. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 6.8 rebounds per game over his last 10 games. We'll revisit these numbers in just a second. Looking at the overall data, like I said, not fantastic for Butler. Just a 38% hit rate on the year for Jimmy. 25 out of 65 games. That does include playoffs. He's cashed the over, averaging 5.6 rebounds per game this year. It's kind of tough to look at his overall numbers, though, because you do have that first half of the year when he was in Miami, minutes fluctuating, unhappy. You know, but even when Golden State, the rebounds were not really high. This is also a little bit of an elevated line, to be fair. But whatever way you want to shake it, the overall numbers are not fantastic. However, looking at the head-to-head data now, it's a small sample size, but it is pretty solid. He's played Minnesota 4 times in the last 2 seasons. Once last year with the Miami Heat, he had 5 rebounds. But obviously, these 3 are all in this series. So far in this second-round playoff series versus Minnesota, Jimmy Butler is 3-0. So he's cashed this line in all 3 games. The last 2 were very close. Narrow cashes, 7 rebounds and 7 rebounds. But they were cashes nonetheless. He's averaging 7.5 rebounds per game over the last 4 matchups. Look at the potential rebounds here. 16 rebound chances in game 1, 10 in game 2, and 16 in game 3. So a lot of opportunities for him here. And again, the line, we only need him to get 7. That's less than 50%. These games, game 1, well, game 1 he actually had, I think, 11 rebounds. So a little bit more than 50%. But in game 3, in game 3, he had 16 rebound chances, but only grabbed 7 rebounds. That's less than 50% of the rebound opportunity. So, you know, he doesn't need to go crazy. He doesn't need to have 10 rebounds to cash the line. We only need 7, and with the opportunities he's been getting thus far in the series, it's been pretty solid. So I like the spot. Even the last 5 games, we go back and narrow it down again to the last 5. This, of course, includes the 3 games thus far in the Minnesota series, as well as the final 2 games in the Houston series. Again, 5-0. He's averaging 8.4 rebounds per game over his last 5 games. So really impressive. He's averaging 15 rebound chances per game. You know the minutes are there. He's going to play a ton of minutes in this series. They need him to play, especially with Curry being out. They need Butler to be out there. The opportunity is going to be there, and I think this is a pretty solid player prop. For -128 odds, too, pretty strong value. And our 4th and final player prop in today's slate, again, sticking with this Warriors-Timberwolves game, 10 p.m. tip-off. We're going Buddy Hield of the Golden State Warriors over 15.5 points plus assists, -125 over on DraftKings. Very similar to the Jimmy Butler player prop, where the recent data is very strong. The overall data, not so much. So let's start with the recent data here. 6 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 14.8 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. Let's narrow this down to the last 5, because obviously this kind of starts with that Game 7 with Houston. He went phenomenal, 33 points and 3 assists in that pivotal closeout game against the Rockets. That kind of started this run, and then so far in the Minnesota series, all 3 games, he's cashed the over. Now, some of this has to do with the fact that Curry's out, so somebody's got to score for Golden State. Buddy Hield has taken on more of that responsibility offensively. But he's on a good run. Even Game 1, 24 points and 3 assists. Again, Game 2, very narrow, but 15 points and 1 assist. And then Game 3, the most recent one, 14 points and 5 assists. So he's been playing pretty well. Again, you have seen the minutes there. Game 6 versus Houston, only 16.5 minutes. Now his minutes have massively increased. 37 minutes in that game, 40, 28.7, 32.3. He's playing more. He's playing in that ballpark of 30 minutes. You're also seeing the shot attempts. Look at that, 15, 19, 14, 11. And the kicker is he's not even shooting that well. 37% here, 36% here, 45% here. Now, the key thing here, obviously, which I think is beneficial for us, he's taking a lot of threes. Look at the last 4 games in particular, 11, 8, 9, 8. He's taking a lot of threes, and he's actually shooting 55% from 3 over the last 5 games. And even if you just narrow it down to the 3 games in this series, 63%, 44%, 50%. So really solid numbers there for Buddy Hield. And again, somebody has to score with Steph Curry being out. Now, like I mentioned, the overall data, not great. 37% hit rate on the year for Buddy Hield. Just 34 out of 93 games, including playoffs. He's cashed the over, averaging 12.87 points plus assists per game overall this year. Like I said, not great. But then you go back to the head-to-head data. It's not bad. 5 of his last 8 matchups with Minnesota, he's cashed the over. Next, actually, they've played so far this year 7 times. Playoffs and regular season included. He's matched up with Minnesota 7 times, cashed the over in 5 of those 7 games, including 4 straight. So, and kind of you want to narrow it even further, 5 of his last 6 versus Minnesota, he's cashed the over. So, pretty decent track record versus this team. Obviously, Steph Curry continuing to be out. Somebody else has to help take up that offensive responsibility. The defense is keying in on Jimmy Butler, so it does open a lot more opportunities for guys like Buddy Hield to step up for Golden State. So I like the spot a lot for Buddy Hield here to keep his little hot streak going. -125 too. Pretty solid value. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop video. But until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Let's have a great week, and let's go ahead and make some money.